We are rummaging through people's feces and now basically grave robbing. Welcome to the adventuring, folks. This is NPC Adventures. Moro moro, and welcome back to culinary role-playing and back into NPC Adventures. So finally, I think in this episode we are going to get into the thick of it, an actual dungeon crawl in a dungeon crawling game. So in the last episode, our player NPC, Bob the potato farmer, has finally accepted his first quest. Bob has been tasked by Father Thelbane from the Chapel of Tar to find the missing idol of Tar that has been mysteriously stolen or lost. And the idol was lost in these mysterious circumstances where there were this kind of a huge splashing sound. And this splash basically came out of the window from outside and soaked the whole altar, and the water source had possibly flooded the idol down into the sewers. So Bob decided to start his search of the missing idol from underneath the Morgansfort. These sewers that have not been scouted for maybe even centuries. And thank you again for sending comments on my way. I wanted to highlight one comment that had really good ideas of what we can expect from the tunnels. Hopefully you don't mind me underlining your comments, because you have posted a comment on public forum, so I assume that it's okay with you. But in the future, if you feel like you don't want to be shout out, just let me know in the comment that please don't underline this comment. Then I will not do that. But today I'm risking it a little bit and shouting out Restart 239 and thank you for this great comment. What Restart is suggesting is that maybe the sewers could have doubled as a secret escape tunnels which were built early in the history of Morgansfort, but which were largely forgotten. They could link to the outside, an old underground temple, etc. And I think this was a great idea, and today's sewer dungeon that I have created, there is actually a stairs that will lead maybe outside the Morgansfort or into another area at least. So the sewers will continue, and that is because of this comment. So thank you, Restart. Also, should establish why the statue was stolen. Maybe the use in a magical ritual. And I actually had kind of similar idea. In the end, I want the dice to decide what happens, so when it becomes relevant, we will definitely keep this idea in mind. And also, I think it would be fun if Bob could pick up a companion at some point, maybe a wizard or a cleric to help on the adventures. And this was also an idea that I had. And I even have an idea that who this person might be. I think it might not be relevant today. We never know. But let's see if this companion thing happens naturally. But if it's not going to happen today's episode, I have some ideas for the next episode that how this could be a possibility. I already have also ideas who this companion might be. Amazing comment. Thank you, Restart 239. And if you have this kind of ideas, what to do next in the adventure, please let me know. And one more mechanical rules thing before we get into the adventure. I really had to have a long thought about how we are going to go into this dungeon crawl. And I decided rules as of now. The mechanics are really deadly for level 1 NPC who would want to go into dungeon alone. So like there would be no chance almost for Bob to succeed in this mission. But there are great rules for solo playing OSR So I thought to myself, why wouldn't I use these great rules that have been established by great writers already? So I decided to change the damage rule once more, and we are going to introduce the Scarlet Heroes Creature HD damage system, which basically means that our health stays at the same level, but how creatures deal damage and how creatures take damage is changed up a little bit. So instead of creatures rolling HP, they just use their HD as their HP, basically. So HD 3 creatures have 3 HP. We still use our regular HP. And how damage is dealt is actually when you roll your damage die, you will take that result and consult this damage table over here. So rolling a 2 to 5 will deal 1 point of damage. Rolling 1 deals no damage at all. And rolling 6 to 9 deals 2 damage, and rolling 10 plus deals 4 damage. So this will make sure that we don't get wiped out like right away. But still, we have D4 weapon. That means we can do 1 damage if we hit, and we could still deal none of the damage. So we are still definitely very weak, but we don't have to be worried about that we will be dead outright. So giving us a little bit more survivability, but definitely we are just a potato farmer and we should not fight, and we will not fight, we will run. And also one extra thing that I wanted to add was Scarlet Heroes checks. I tend to not use checks, and if there are some things that I want to establish, I usually just roll the oracle. But I thought to myself, when I'm playing solo, and if there are some situations that require some kind of roll, I think the Scarlet Heroes check system is pretty good. So the base DC in these checks will be 12, and we will roll 2d8 and add our attribute modifier that is used within the check. And we'll see if we succeed or fail. But like I said, this is just for like special occasions. Normally I don't tend to do checks in OSR games. So how we are going to do our today's dungeon crawl is as follows. I have once again used Watapu Arcana to create us a random dungeon layout. But now we still need to know what are inside all of these rooms. So I borrowed a great mechanic from a great game called Mouse Reader. Mouse Reader is basically this OSR games where you play as adventuring mice. It's one of my favorite games, and I should probably do a series out of it at some point. But how we will deal with what is inside every room is that we will roll d6s. We first roll the room type, then we will roll if there are any creatures within that room, and then we also will roll if there are any treasure in that room. And for each room type, I also created a D8 table of possible things that might come across when we go into that room. But I think let's keep the tables as a secret for now. I have also forgotten like at least a half of all those things that I have put into those tables. So yeah, let's keep it a secret for now and just jump right into the adventure itself. Buckle up. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet, and let's go. The sound of dripping water and the dampness and just pure aroma of kind of wet moss, stone, and maybe a little bit of feces as well starts to fill the stairs and the corridor that leads down into the sewers. Bob with his lit torch, and I think now he definitely also for the first time has his dagger ready as well. He's carefully with his eyes open going deeper into this sewer system. definitely carefully walk slowly with his eyes peeled, just trying to take in everything and scouting for the idol and just scouting possible threats. And first he's trying to peek from the corner and see if there is anyone in here or in this corridor. And here we actually have a secret room, and we can actually highlight it right now. So secret 1. And what this S1 means is that there is guaranteed to have at least treasure in there. We will also possibly roll to see what other things might be within the room, but there's at least a treasure. But there is a secret door, and Bob doesn't have any knowledge right now, any tips, any maps that could indicate that there is a secret room. But I think within the system there is possibility that you can see, you can detect a secret room without like actually looking for it, and that is with the roll of d6, right? And if you're an elf, you get 2 out of 6, and everyone else gets 1 out of 6. Oh, actually, we should be actively seeking. So even if we would know that there is a secret door, then we would still need to make a search roll. Okay, that's kind of harsh, but let's play by the rules for now. So we have no idea that there is a secret door, just yet at least. But Bob is steadily going deeper into the dungeon with his torch lit. So I think it's important for us to determine what is inside this room right now. Because if there are any creatures in this room, they are not doing anything specific. They might already see Bob's torch. So let's make again a room. Actually, let's just roll to see if there are any encounters or creatures, because we don't know what is inside that room just yet. So that's all we need for now. All right, but we at least need to know the room type. But that's okay, we don't have to roll the exact thing that is inside the room. We just need to know the type that we can see if there are any creatures. So let's first roll a d6 to see what kind of room it is. 6. It's a lair already. Oh no! So it's a lair. Is there an encounter? We have quite high odds. 2. Yes, there is. Of course there is. And what kind of creatures are lurking in there? Let's roll a d8. 2. Giant rats. Oh boy. That makes perfect sense. That makes absolutely sense. Giant rats are on page 97. Multitudes disease-ridden rodents that will eat anything. Avoid contact with humans, but may attack if defending their nest or if summoned and commanded by magic. They can inflict diseases. They are afraid of fire, will flee unless forced to fight by a summoner. May attack without penalty, excellent swimmers. Okay. So let's see how many. They could be 30. So numbers appearing 3d6 if not in lair, but this was their lair, so it's 3d10 rats. Oh my god, these rats have been busy. 3 feet long or larger. Jeez Louise. Okay, I don't want to know, but let's roll to see how many of these rats are there. Ugh. Of course I'm rolling well now. That is 9 plus 9 is 18 rats. I will create a nest. But I think this means that within this layer, like, this is their home, and overall 18 rats are here all around, because I don't think they necessarily are all here right now. I think when Bob carefully just tries to peek behind the corner, he can start to hear this infernal. And at the first sight of him going like carefully behind the corner, I think there is already a rat waiting for him. Bob can see these red glowing eyes from the darkness and from the edge of the reach of the torch's light, like these many pairs of eyes. And as soon as these giant rats also see the fire, they are like and they are mad. They really do not like the fire. And Bob also startles back a little bit and he's like and instinctively keeps the torch in front of him and protecting himself with the fire. For now it seems to be working. What will Bob do? I think Bob will just carefully try to keep himself as close to the wall as possible and tries to scare away the few rats that are now blocking his way into this corridor. And I think because the rats are afraid of fire, they will duck back into their nest and into their lair right now. And Bob can see as much as the light gives him possibility to see, he can see like the sea of glowing eyes. And there is over 10 rats within the nest area right now, and he can hear that infernal squeaking. Like think about having rats at the size of dogs and even bigger in one room, and they are just infesting this whole area and eating God knows what, probably partially themselves as well, because rats will eat like mice and rodents overall. They will eat anything, even their own kin. Like anything goes with these guys, and the whole scene is appalling. But for now I would say Bob can just go past the rats. He knows that he has no business in this location right now. Yes, he has a torch for now, and these are very animalistic creatures. Of course, they are animals, so they will keep away and they will be kept at bay right now. But if he would go even with a torch inside this room, nothing good will come out of that. Bob is just already sweating marbles and is keeping his torch and his dagger, and he's basically like hugging the wall with his back, and it's like the wet wall is smearing into his clothes, but he doesn't care at all right now. He just wants to carefully just keep going along the corridor. And I would think, I would say, yeah, because there are so many rats, I would say there is at least another rat in here already. Because 18 giant rats, they have basically infested this whole area. So yeah, I think he can see also a rat in here, which basically like comes around the corner and sees the flame and is like and goes quickly back somewhere here, and maybe even out of sight of Bob right now. Okay. And Bob can see two possible routes in front of him, and I think for now he will take the stairs up. In some base level, the idea of being at on higher ground and not going into the directions where there are giant rats just feels really appealing right now. So he carefully goes upstairs, but is still like very conscious about any rats in this direction as well. And he carefully comes into this narrow corridor and tries to like take a peek around the corner and see what lies in here. Ooh, I got chills of thinking about all those rats. Okay, now let's make another roll. Oh, this is gonna be interesting dungeon crawl. So, what lies beneath this room? The type of the room. 5. Puzzle or interest? Very interesting. Important note, are there any creatures in here? 5. There are no creatures. Are there any treasures in here? 4. There is a treasure in here as well. And also let's first roll the interest, so we get even more context on what kind of location this is. The lost idol is here! Okay! So, the smell is foul in here. I think this room is some kind of connection point into like different parts of this sewer system. And like most of the different, like the sewage holes in Morgansfort like come down to here, which means the smell is awful. The smell is awful in here. You can just smell like all the feces and the waste that has been floating down in here. And there's like this big hole that leads down even deeper underneath the Morgansfort. But I would say there is some kind of like filter made out of like metal bars. Yeah, there is some kind of like metal reticle on top of this hole, at least, so it will kind of filter out some of the bigger objects. And I feel because of the idol being like this kind of quite hefty statue, I think it has like fallen partially through the reticle, but the round base of the idol has stopped it from going even deeper. Sewer connection point. And Bob carefully arrives into the room and he's trying to keep himself sane with like all the filth and all the smell of the feces. Bob is just like trying his best not to puke, and he's like, oh, I need to have a thorough scrub of my soul even when I get out of this place. And I might also need to burn my clothes. The smell is horrible, horrendous. But he comes into the room, and within the reticle he can see this kind of, what kind of material? It's kind of hefty, like, is it like kind of like marble, or is it wooden as well? Yeah, I would say it is mostly wooden, but there are like some kind of metallic aspects within it. There is some kind of like metal inlaying on the statue, on the idol as well. And Bob is like, oh, I can't believe it. That has to be the idol. And he quickly goes and grabs the idol and just tries to see if it's too damaged or anything like that. There might be some wear and tear, but because it is wooden, yeah, let's just say I won't roll it. It's mostly intact. Bob is really thinking about this. Why would somebody go through so much effort to just drop the idol in here? Like, what was the point to do this? While the idol having a lot of cultural significance and religious significance, I don't see it being worth a lot of money. I want to roll. Is there something specific in the idol? Like, rather than itself being valuable, is there like a secret compartment? Is there like a secret message? Or something like that. It's likely that there is some kind of other function than just being a valuable idol. It's either likely or very likely. This is just a hunch, so let's just say likely. Is there another significance or function for the obelisk, for the idol that we don't see right now? 15. It is almost extreme yes, but yes. 50-50. Is it some kind of text, or is it a hidden compartment that has now been opened because the information or the object within the idol has now already been retrieved by anyone who wanted to have the idol? So 50-50. If I roll yes, it means it's some kind of text. If it's over, that means it's some kind of hidden compartment. 69. 69 means no, so it's not a text. It is some kind of hidden compartment, and I think Bob can see basically like the base of the idol being like this kind of wooden slab that just can be like pulled to the side, basically the base. And Bob can see like the idol now being hollow and there is nothing in there. So whoever stole the idol knew that there was a secret compartment within this idol. I think my investigation is not done in here. I better keep going, and I might be able to retrieve whatever was inside this idol. So now it's time to update our thread. And I actually forgot to roll our chaos factor in today. But which is fine, because I forgot it and we already started out our adventure. It's going really well. I don't want to mess with the chaos factor right now, so let's just not do that today. We can do it next time. I'll try to remember next time, okay? So updating, return the missing idol of Tar into... So now the thread is what was inside idol of Tar. The plot thickens. So definitely there is still more to be discovered within the sewers. But now let's see what kind of treasure there was inside this room. I think Bob just... He will still take the idol. It is wooden, but I would say it's quite big still. Like, it's quite hefty idol. So I will say it is worth 2 points in our inventory. And that would mean our inventory would go to 11 out of 11. So we would be encumbered. So we need to drop something if we want to keep going. Actually, Bob will still leave the idol into the room for now. He will leave it on the side of the wall and just thought to himself, I will come back to you later, don't worry. I'm talking to an idol right now, okay. And uses now 10 minutes to scour out this room, and because he can see on the ground, even though it's filthy and he already smells bad, he can see on the ground, like within the filth, he just picks up a gold coin and just like cleans it out of the mud a little bit. It's like, there might be something else valuable in here. And he just starts to like use his torch and try to see if there is anything valuable in here. And that will definitely take up one of the torch's times. Actually, I can actually put here a separate one that we can like try to see our individual like random encounter, wandering monster checks, and also our torch checks. So now we have used 10 minutes to scour out this room. And now we'll roll to see what kind of goodies we find. The best moment in every dungeon crawl. Here, what we find. 1. Group treasure V. I think that is understandable. So that means that Bob will just take some time to scour like all the individual like different piles of things, and he can find nicks and knacks all around the place. Or let's see how much he can find. So we have the treasure types section within the Old School Essentials book, and how it normally goes that you can roll D100 to see what of the treasure types you can find from treasure groups. And it also says that if like you don't roll anything, the GM can decide like which would be appropriate to like find from the place. How we can do this is that we can roll first each section to see if we find anything. If I roll the whole table and we get nothing, I will then roll another die to see what thing we find. Like we always find at least one type of treasure from that treasure type group. Treasure type V, average of 330 gold found. Let's start with the first set. We don't find anything from that. We don't find that. No. 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 Okay, we didn't find anything. So now I will roll just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I will roll a D8 and see what type of treasure we found. We found one piece of something. 7. Okay. That's going to be interesting. I will now first roll what it is, and then I will narrate to you what we found. So Bob tries to keep it all in. Bob just tries to keep his breakfast in while he is scouring through these piles of filth. There has to be something valuable in here. And then from one pile, it's really quite difficult to see because the thing itself is like this kind of obsidian black. But then he finds this kind of box. This box is really made from this deep dark wood with leather binding as well, and with the dark leather being the most prominent material used. And it seems like it's not sealed. It seems to have like a mechanism that you can open it, but it seems to be like really tightly. For like quick glance, it almost looks like a jewelry box of some sort. And Bob is like, oh, well, this looks expensive. I will take it with me. And he will just pocket whatever it is. Bob doesn't use a lot of time to try to figure out what it is right now, but he will take the small mystery box with him. And it is small enough that I think it will take one space. Black jewelry box with quotation mark, because that is what it is for Bob right now. And again, we don't have the Idol of Tar with us right now. It's just within the room, but that's why it's on brackets. Now we have 10 out of 11 items, so we are not yet encumbered still. And what we can also see within the room is this kind of, I think some of the water is also flowing into this kind of low sewer area. I would say there is even like this kind of hole. It's like that you can crawl into the space if you want. And there we have an extra room as well, a secret room. Bob goes into this hole and just tries to like light the space up with his torch, but tries to be careful because he doesn't want his torch to be extinguished. But it looks really difficult to try to go underneath the hole and try to keep the torch lit. It looks like it's like he could maybe barely fit in. He will probably need to like take off his backpack as well. Like it's that small, and he really would need to like crawl through, but he could possibly crawl into the other side. Whoever took the thing that was within the idol knew this place. He knew where that sewer hole would lead. I might need to check that place out as well. And he takes a deep sigh because he knows he needs to basically crawl in poo. And he just drops his bag over here, like right next to the idol as well. He really doesn't want to leave the bag unattended, especially with the rats being around, and he has some rations within the bag as well. So what Bob will do is actually he will take one of the torches from his bag. Bob will also light that torch and stick it in here in order to keep at least the rats at bay, so they wouldn't dare want to come in here. Bob knows that it can at least burn an hour, so he has a little bit of time to go and try to see what lurks in here, and maybe he can possibly find some kind of answers. And then Bob will go here. He will like hunch down and just takes a deep sigh. So this is what adventuring is, huh? Crawling in shit. And he tries to take a deep breath and almost throws up, but then again takes a deep breath and just starts to crawl in. So to be clear, Bob doesn't have his backpack with him. He took one of the torches, like one extra torch, and put it in his belt. Easy enough to do. Then he also took his dagger. He has with him as well, and then he has the one torch in his hand. That's all Bob has right now. And he starts to crawl down. It is exactly what you can expect from crawling in a narrow space within a sewer. Well, the good thing is it's quite slippery and lubricated, so it is quite easy to like wiggle around. There's not much friction, so that on the other hand can make crawling more difficult. Carefully, Bob is going into the other side, and luckily it's like 2 meters long, the crawling space, but it is 2 meters of crawling in poo basically. And what I will do right now, I will actually roll a disease check for Bob, just to see, because now he has been working with this filth and now he's crawling in feces effectively. And let's see if he catches any disease by using these disease rules over here. 15. Luckily no. So he doesn't catch any diseases right now. But it is quite a ride. He arrives to the other side, and I think now it's time for us to determine what is inside this room. Room C. How exciting. Oh, this is gonna be a bumpy ride, you guys. The type of room. 5. Interest again. I need to use this. Okay. It's an interest room. let's first see if there are any creatures. 3, no. If there is more treasure. 5, barely, but there is. We can use some time again to scout out the room and then we will know what treasure there is. But right now it is a room of interest. I will roll a d8 as long as we get over 4. 7. A transition, stairs, gate. Okay. So Bob crawls underneath the space. Now I will also roll to see if the torch was extinguished while we were crawling through. I think there's a 10% chance, so I will roll a d10. 3, so no. Okay, so the torch is still lit. And I would say taking this time and crawling underneath this 2-meter hole of poo, I will also move the clock forward a little bit. And that would mean wandering monster check as well. Well, let's leave that for now. We know I will do it, but let's see if we can find a narrative place for it. When Bob arrives into the room, there is no one in there. But what I think it is some kind of room that is filled with different kind of sacrilegious writings on the wall, and it seems to be things written in blood. And there is also different kinds of icons of the god Ptah, but they are like pictures of the god Ptah and the symbols of Ptah, and they have been like crossed out or they have been carved with daggers. So this is definitely some kind of anti-movement for the god Ptah itself. There is indeed a passageway, but I would say it is some kind of makeshift gate. Like, it looks like it has been made after this location. The wall of this section has been like carved out basically. The corridor would continue. And basically like the sewer seems to change a bit, and it transitions into this kind of very regular looking cave. There is also this wall made out of like thick wooden pillars that also has like this kind of gate, and the gate seems to be locked by a metal chain. I would say it's this kind of like there are these holes within the gate and the wall, so you can like basically, like turn the chain around a little bit so you can open it from either side. But I would say the door is locked right now. And now I will roll for the random encounter as well. 3, so no encounter. So definitely it seems that the door is locked for now. And I would say there is like this lock hanging from the chain, and the chain has been like wrapped around the gate and the wall, and the lock is like holding them all together. And Bob just sees all this tarnished idols and symbols of Ptah, and this is definitely a malicious movement or cult that is targeting the Ptah for some reason. We need to add another thread and another character. Cult of Anti-Ptah for now. Let's just put the cultist hideout. And Bob like dives even deeper into the room and can now also see sacrifices, like animal sacrifices, some weird creature sacrifices, and I would say there is even one human sacrifice. He also sees this head looking at him. He spooks until he sees that it's a dead person's head on this kind of altar table, and I think Bob just like takes a steps back and stumbles down and takes a like even few crawling steps back. And for now is terrified. I need to warn the others. And get hold of yourself. You wanted to be an adventurer. Now it's time to be an adventurer. And Bob collects himself from the ground, and he takes 10 minutes to just see what is inside the room. That means duplicate. This is the torch number 2, so that's why I'm putting this here. And the torch number 2 is now on its first 10 minutes. And we are here on our third 10 minutes with the other torch, when we are now looking through this whole place to see what kind of treasure we find. So let's roll a d8 again. 3. Group treasure again. Makes sense, makes sense. We are finding a lot of treasure. Why I don't feel good about it? We are basically grave robbing right now. We are rummaging through people's feces and now basically grave robbing. Welcome to the adventuring, folks. This is NPC Adventures. So let's roll again. Group treasure V. Nope. Nope. Ooh, okay. Yeah, okay. So Bob just scours through this whole place, and he doesn't only find one body. He also now starts to see like a hand, a leg, maybe a piece of torso. And he finds more than 2 legs. So there are multiple bodies within the room. And from one corner he can find very nicely, cleanly folded clothes that seems to be probably from the victims. The cultists have like taken off all the belongings of the people and have spread them on the table. Very basic things that people could have within their possessions. And in addition to that, Bob can find 2 pieces of jewelry from there as well. And I think he finds 1 ring, not the one ring, but 1 ring. And also this kind of very fancy looking amulet of some sort, which is this like with the gold chain and with this beautiful garnet gem in the middle of it. And Bob realizes also like that this probably belonged to the people upstairs, and he just like takes them into his pockets for now. I should probably return these to people beside Morgansfort. These might be people that are looked for right now. After scouting the room a little bit, Bob starts to think about his options. I could keep going, but I really would like to have some help in here. This is something that is possibly way beyond me, but the problem is I won't be looked for here for the longest time. I would need to stay here and survive until I am released from the upper gate. Another option is to keep going and hopefully find another way out of here, but that can definitely turn out to be really dangerous. While Bob is pondering his options, and think about how he will proceed next. We will continue from here the next episode. Thank you for being here again. This is getting really intense and interesting. Bob is facing difficult choices, interesting mysteries are unfolding. Now we have a whole cultist underground here who are basically fighting against the god of Tar, making human sacrifices. We have rat infestation, and we have to survive here basically quite many hours still. So it will be really interesting to see what Bob will do. Thank you for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this content, and I see you next time. Moro moro.